is one of the best series out there. Almost every game within it is a quality experience. Even the reboot is a good time if you look past the fact it's called Devil May Cry and ignore the story.
And I got a bigger dick.
Just fuck off, you cheeky bellend.
Despite the reboot's flaws, there is one game specifically that everyone tells you to skip when it comes to playing through the series. And that game is Devil May Cry 2, and you know what? I agree with that statement. Devil May Cry 3 is the true sequel to the original DMC. To be honest with you all, I would have skipped it if I wasn't dedicated to making a video on every game in the series. I mean, literally by the end of my stream where I was getting footage for it, I was done. Like, I was just fully checked out. I sounded like I was reading out a suicide note.
Oh, good. I don't remember where the fuck you go.
Like, even my mods quit because they had to sit through 5 hours of this shit. It was such a bad experience that after I fell into a deep depression, gained a gambling addiction, lost my home and my pet hamster Squidge, and now I'm recording this out of a cardboard box in Scunthorpe. I have a Patreon, by the way, if you want to help me get out of this situation. This game is over 20 years old. We all know it's bad. Everyone and your mother has said it's bad. What surprised me though is the fact there are some people who do actually find joy in this game. They've sifted through the shit and found a tiny speck of gold that none of us can see. Are they delusional? Perhaps. Whilst making this video, I wanted to try and see if I could discover that small nugget of joy and whimsy that these people were finding. And to be honest with you all, when I decided I wanted to make videos covering this series, I was only really interested in covering 1, 3, 4 and the reboot, and I was actually originally just gonna skip over Devil May Cry 2, but after putting out the Devil May Cry 1 video, I got a few comments saying they were excited to see me cover Devil May Cry 2, hoping I don't fall into the same trap of just saying it's shit without giving it a proper chance. Well, you know what? After giving it another chance, playing through the whole game again and playing through Lucia's campaign for the first time, I can honestly say without a doubt, it's worse than I remember. It is the king of shit.
Here's your crown.
Now, to give Devil May Cry 2 some credit, it wasn't deliberately made to be bad as most games aren't. It was fucked up by some good old-fashioned dumb publisher decisions, which is usually the case in the games industry, let's be real. See, Capcom thought it was a great idea to not bring back the same team and director, Hideki Kamiya, to make the sequel to the game. The game that they made, by the way. Instead, they slapped some random team and an unknown director onto the project. That director still remains anonymous to this day for obvious reasons. It's one of the biggest mysteries, and to be fair, if I was known for directing Devil May Cry 2, I probably would have been publicly hung, so I genuinely understand why they want to remain anonymous. They clearly weren't very good at directing, or at least they had no experience with it, and were thrown into the deep end of following up Devil May Cry 1, which at the time was a pretty huge task. I mean, look at that Metacritic score. It must have been a tough job. Either that or they were just lazy as shit because supposedly for the first 6 months, nothing had been done on the project. Not even the combat was done. No, actually that's not true. They had a guy working on the Stinger move. Nothing else, just the Stinger move, which in the final game has about as much reach as a unique and interesting video in the YouTube algorithm. I'll get to the combat later, I haven't finished talking about the shitty development. So Capcom saw this guy had done almost nothing with the game for the past 6 months, and realised they were paying him to do fuck all. So they kicked him off and decided to give a random person the death sentence of being credited as the director for this doomed project. That person being Hideki Itsuno, who you may recognise as the guy who directed the rest of the Devil May Cry games, making it is what it is today. He also made the Dragon's Dogma series, which is very good, you know, it's very underrated, especially the first game. So this does have a happy ending, it's just, you know, that's at the end, that's after Devil May Cry 2. To be fair on Itsuno, it was an impossible task for the guy. He had barely any time to get the team to pull their socks up and finish levels, enemies, combat, and even the story. I think I heard somewhere that they made the levels before the story, which, I mean, definitely feels like the case because there's almost zero cohesion to the levels. It's nothing like the first game. For example, there's this one bit where you're in a big city making your way to some skyscraper just for the next mission to be on an oil rig, because Dante spotted a helicopter in the sky. I don't know. So yeah, Itsuno had almost no time to redeem this game, but him coming in and taking a bullet by being credited for it is the reason we still have Devil May Cry today. And it's honestly a miracle because I'm genuinely surprised this game didn't cause Capcom to axe the entire series. So let's talk about the meat of any Devil May Cry, the combat, and in the second game, that meat has been sitting out in the sun for a good month or two. This shit is rotten, it's miserable, and it gives me the shits. I shouldn't have eaten it. Somehow they went backwards from the already fairly basic combat of the original DMC, stripping it down from anything that made it somewhat interesting and fun. Dante now has a single free hit combo he can pull off on the ground. That's all he can really do, and that goes for each of the other 2 weapons he can find. They don't have variations in the moves, they're just all different versions of the sword Rebellion, with the only differing factor between them being the range they can hit enemies and the damage, with one being shorter but hitting harder, and the other being longer but a bit weaker, and Rebellion, which is the best of both worlds. Yeah, Dante's iconic sword Rebellion was introduced in this game. They all have the same free hit combo, the same animations. I guess I saw Dante occasionally do something slightly unique with the shorter sword, but I was so checked out by that point I have no idea how I even did it. I was just kind of mashing buttons. Not only are the melee weapons just miserable to use, lacking in variety and just general enjoyment, but enemies don't even feel designed to be fought using them half the time. No, Devil May Cry 2 puts more of a priority on the ranged weapons. Enemies frequently punish you heavily for getting in close to melee them half the time, provoking you to just stand there holding the shoot button, waiting for the enemy's health bars to slowly drain so you can get one step closer to never playing this fuck-ass game again. Some bosses you can't even beat with melee. At least, I don't think you can. The game gives some very subtle hints you shouldn't do. It's pretty insane how bad this game is, I'm gonna be honest. It is a miracle we got Devil May Cry 3. Like, how did we go from this to Devil May Cry 3? God, Devil May Cry 3 is so peak. I cannot wait to get to that game. Unfortunately though, I need to get through Devil May Cry 2, and you'll be joining me as I trudge through every chapter, talking about what happens, what I kinda liked, and what I mostly disliked, because there is a lot I disliked whilst playing. However, instead of just going through Dante's campaign, then Lucia's right after, since they kind of coincide and overlap, I'll try my best to cover Lucia's sections where they actually fit into Dante's story to make it feel coherent. I'll be ignoring the ones where she just repeats stuff that Dante did though, because what is the point of that? Like, that would just waste everyone's time. Right, let's start this then. We begin with a shot of the moon in the sky as it pans down to some building as we have some random ass guy narrate some bollocks that I genuinely do not care about. He mentions Dante's father Sparda, and that's all you really need to know. Within the building we see a bunch of random statues, one of them being Mundus from the first game, for some reason.
I know what that is!
It just reminds me that I could be playing the first game instead of this shit. We then cut to Lucia looking at a coin within a glass case. Before she can grab it though, she's ambushed by a bunch of flying demons. As she's fighting them, the glass on the roof shatters as Dante slowly falls down to assist, killing all of the attacking demons in one of the most boring combat cutscenes I've seen in my entire life. It just looks so stiff and stilted. Also, notice in the cutscene how he doesn't use Rebellion once during this combat encounter, only using his guns. It's as if they knew that's what you'd be doing for most of the fucking game. The coin Lucia was eyeing up lands by Dante's feet, and he flips the coin back into Lucia's hands, which is another trend you'll be seeing in this game because Dante flips a coin to determine whether or not he can be asked to help with a job. The coin does serve some relevance to the story. It's like one of the 3 or 4 knickknacks that the main villain requires to do some evil demonic shit. I don't actually remember. We'll get to it though. Either way, we get a slow zoom in on a map of an island that was above the coin with a knife marked onto a location. This is important because unlike Devil May Cry 1, we aren't spending our time in one big location. Instead, we're traveling around a huge ass island, which was probably a way for them to explain away the incoherent jumps to random levels in between missions. Mission 1 is no exception because we begin on some random ass clock tower with Dante jumping off it head first, knowing that this might actually be the opportunity he has to off himself so he doesn't have to experience this fuck-ass game. but his cat-like demon reflexes kick in or something and he lands on his feet, unfortunately. Poor guy. The first mission does not start too strong. In fact, it's a good indication of how the rest of the game will be. Mind-numbingly boring. Straight away, I feel like the game tries to have the eerie ambience of the original by having it start fairly slow with nothing going on around you as you make your way through an abandoned town. The difference between this and the first is the fact Devil May Cry 2 is just lacking any of that creepy ambience. It definitely feels like it tries to make an attempt at this. I mean, you're exploring rundown abandoned places being attacked by demon abominations just like the first. Like in comparison, the first game took place frequently in claustrophobic tight areas, which enhanced that fear factor of being jumped around every corner. But I think the problem with Devil May Cry 2 is the fact all the levels are really open.
In my restless dreams, I see that town.
So it just comes across as empty and boring for the most part. What else can I say? It gets worse when we're introduced to the first enemy and also to the combat with these caged undead specimens which are called When I was streaming this, someone pointed out how every name in this game just feels like a spelling mistake and I can't unsee it. The names of the enemies are just so strange and I have no idea if there's meaning behind these or the developers just slammed their hand on the keyboard and just stuck with what came out. Either way, these enemies have nothing on the puppets from the first game. Like, they're not even a threat, they barely attack you. I'm comparing the two enemies because they both have similar aspects. Not only are they the first enemies you encounter, but they're also unique in the way there are multiple variations with different weaponry to keep you on your feet. The difference is I've only seen the attack of the ranged ones because they throw their discs at you off screen and it just pisses me off. Besides that, most of them just barely do anything and just act as damage sponge pinatas that are just there. They're brain dead. Supposedly though, on the hardest difficulty they actually act like real enemies. The same goes for the rest of the foes and bosses, but like, I shouldn't have to play on the hardest difficulty in a Devil May Cry game to be challenged, especially considering you can only play it on normal for your first playthrough. I don't care if it becomes a better game on the unlocked hard mode. I'm not playing Devil May Cry 2 again.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Get the fuck out of here! Fuck you, man! Get the fuck out!
Aside from that, there's nothing else going on in this mission. You get introduced to some flying enemies from the intro and they just fly off screen doing nothing for the most part, so... Whilst Dante is trotting through the town being bored out of his mind, Lucia is doing the exact same thing, except completely backwards towards the clock tower Dante started on. I'm not joking. You go through the exact same area, just backwards. I can see where Devil May Cry 4 got its inspiration from, am I right, fellas? What I find interesting about this is the fact you actually go inside the clock tower as Lucia, and to give the game credit, this is a really cool area environmentally. It's quite fun scaling it whilst ignoring every combat encounter. Unfortunately though, at the top we get an unskippable boss fight, this weird big fella called Tartar Russian. What? Again, what are these names?
Eustace R. Dewo? Better start with Greek Town.
After defeating the boss, she acquires this dagger, which is one of the knickknacks I mentioned earlier, and after that she heads back to where she started, but right behind her is Dante just standing there, not saying anything. Then the building Lucia was about to enter explodes and Dante saves her, and then from the rubble emerges an old lady. I'm not like going through this quickly, this is just, there's no dialogue, this all just happens. She gives some exposition on the main villain, who is called Arius? Basically, he's a big bad corporate guy who's transformed the land into a demon paradise, supposedly. Maybe that explains why everywhere is just empty with no sign of life. She asks Dante specifically to take care of him, and to determine whether or not he goes out to do the job, he flips his fuck-ass coin. It lands on heads because, spoiler, both sides of the coin are heads, because Dante just wants to look cool like he doesn't care or some shit. I don't know. I don't really care either, I'm gonna be honest. Dante goes under the hole that the old lady came out of, and it leads to some sewer area with moving walls and shit. Now, like I said in the first video, I'm an avid sewer level defender. And this one is a bad one, I can't lie. There's just nothing here. It's incredibly boring. Like, there's some new enemies, the pyromancers, who have normal names thankfully, but again, they're hardly a threat. And speaking of hardly a threat, at the end we get our first mini-boss, which Yeah, I don't know, man. At the end of all of this, we get a Devil Trigger power-up that allows us to fly in the form, which is cool because it'll let us skip even more encounters in the future. It's as if they knew.
This is a disaster. We are so screwed, man.
We make our way back out onto the boring dead streets of nothingness, which have lampposts slightly off-center from the middle of the road, which is an incredibly confusing choice. I don't know why this bothers me so much, but hey, it's Devil May Cry 2, what can you do? There is this cool shot I got of a big structure looming down on Dante, but that's all I can really give this mission. There's this odd set piece a bit later in where a demon goat from earlier is hovering down the street, causing these hazards to spawn, as you have to run down to kill it to stop it. It's piss easy and boring. Right after that, we get our first boss fight as Dante, and it's against a giant monkey in a train station. The boss is called Orangura. Is that just orangutan mixed with gorilla? Like, okay. It's actually not that bad of a fight. He constantly tries to get up close to you, preventing you from just spamming your guns, and he's fairly aggressive, so you have to be on your toes frequently, and look out for his tells to dodge incoming swings or slams. That's it, really. Nothing else happens, it's just another filler mission really. You know, it's kind of crazy that this game has less chapters than the first one, yet feels way longer and far more tedious. After defeating the giant monkey, we make our way down to a dock, and down there we end up getting a new Devil Trigger upgrade which increases our speed, which we're forced to use for one puzzle with a gate that slowly starts to close. It's a simple puzzle, but I messed it up multiple times because the stairs leading up to it are slightly off to the side, and I kept missing them due to the fixed camera angle multiple times. This is 100% a skill issue on my part. I think my brain was just fried from playing Devil May Cry 2 for more than 20 minutes. What isn't a skill issue is how arse the next boss is. It's this giant tentacle sea monster thing. They swing at you from a distance with its tentacles, with each one being defeatable, allowing you to jump onto it and smack it around. The problem is the tentacles respawn and it knocks you off pretty quickly with a big force field when they respawn. Oh, and it can poison you. It's not even a hard fight. It's just boring. It just feels like a patience test. After defeating it, what vehicle do you think Dante gets at a dock to travel to the big city? A boat, right? Well, no. Instead, he finds a motorbike and uses that. Yeah, I mean, whatever. We take the motorbike to the city. We don't even get a cutscene to show this, by the way. We just load into a tunnel, so...
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Before we can leave the tunnel, we're ambushed by two wolves, Gary and Frecky. These wolves have way more interest in having zoomies than doing their job of hitting and killing Dante. Again, I know this is a case where they're actually threats on the hardest difficulty, but if the base difficulty is called normal, then this is the normal, and this is god-awful. After defeating them, we get a cutscene of them flying away towards their owner, who is this Kingdoms of Amalur looking ass skeleton. Why is he here? What's his purpose? I don't know, you tell me. Here we are though, the most iconic level in Devil May Cry 2, and that's because of it.
Leave me alone!
Before we can get there though, we have to roam the empty gigantic streets that have no reason to be this big and wide.
I hope you're hungry. For nothing.
But that might just be the fact I'm from the UK, like, I'm really used to the incredibly narrow streets we have to deal with. Anyway, there's another big monkey boss because they probably didn't know what else to put here to fill the empty space, and right after that, we get the most baffling design choice for a boss enemy, the Infested Tank. It's this flesh-covered demonic tank that just acts like a tank, just without the movement part of it, which is kind of a detriment to it because you can just walk up to the side of it and it can't do anything. No matter how hard it tries. I'm not joking or exaggerating here. You can see the footage. This is the whole fight, and you need to beat 3 of them. 3 of them. Right after defeating them, it arrives.
Why don't I introduce you to it? It should keep you busy.
And it is the Infested Chopper. Another demonic infested vehicle, however this one pursues you, having this really shitty chase sequence where we have to scale inside of a skyscraper with some demonic energy slowly rising. Why is this? I don't know, it's a game guys, it doesn't have to make sense I guess.
It's a f***ing video game.
Scale more and more up the tower, which is where we finally face the Infested Chopper. Yeah, little tip if you do plan on playing this game, don't make the mistake of fighting fighting it beforehand because it doesn't kill it. Draining its entire health bar just makes it go away for a small amount of time. You can't actually kill it until the very end. And guess what? Since it's a flying enemy, you have to stand there and shoot. Oh yeah, you can also be knocked down off the building and have to scale back up again whilst it shoots you with rockets. I hate this game. When it's defeated, it explodes and crashes into Dante for some reason. But right after, he wakes up in Devil May Cry and he's actually in the third game and he's just had a bad dream.
Like that's ever gonna happen. What a load of somebody told me the word.
The next mission has us fighting a building that comes alive. Why is this? I don't know. You tell me. It's a boss called Nephastoris. How do I even describe this design? I don't know what it is. You just shoot it a bunch and then its head comes off for a second phase, which is mildly better because you can get up close and actually fight it rather than just shooting at it. And also it's called Nephascatitis now. By the way, the reason why I haven't mentioned Lucia's missions yet is because she's just kind of retreading the same shit as Dante and fighting the same enemies and bosses, so like, who actually cares? Right after defeating the big building boss, Dante looks up and sees a helicopter called Ouroboros, which unfortunately has no relation to Albert Wesker because I would much rather be playing Resident Evil 5 than this, and I don't even like Resident Evil 5. Seeing this helicopter gives him all the reason to randomly go to some oil rigging, but fuck nowhere. Again, I'm fairly certain they designed these levels before writing a story for this game due to the limited time because there's just zero coherency to these levels. The oil rig is okay though, I actually enjoy it more than the others so far, and that's mainly because it's not just wide empty streets. I do think this game works best in its interior locations, and luckily a majority of this takes place within interior areas. Yippee. Yeah, they're nowhere near as good as Devil May Cry 1, but you know, I'll take what I can get at this point. You can also find the second sword in this area, which is a shorter version of Rebellion that does more damage, which is the main one I used because I mean, more damage means the enemies die faster, which means the game will hopefully end sooner. When we get to the end, we encounter the main villain for the first time. I've forgotten his name, but he looks like a rejected Tekken character. Oh, by the way, I just want to point out, we're on mission 7, and this is the first time we're seeing the main villain. Before they can even have a conversation, the guy just clicks his fingers.
My planet needs me.
And summon some Diablo creature, which is another pretty bad boss fight. Its name is Furry Taurus.
Are you some kind of furry?
I tried fighting it normally until I realized that once I made a bit of distance, it just did this weird whirlwind move to try and pull me in, rather than, you know, making distance towards me to attack me. And the whirlwind move barely worked, so I could just get away with standing back and shooting. Again, I get development time was tight, but damn, this is bad. I'm surprised this game has people who enjoy it and willingly play it over the others.
Okay, girl. Shit.
Before this fight, there was actually a cutscene with Lucia confronting the big bad guy, and I think she learned that she was made by him and she's actually a demon and clone or something. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think it really matters. By the way, this main villain is going to be a character in season 2 of the Netflix series. I think that says a lot about the show.
Fuck, shithole, fuck that fucking shit, fuck.
Right after the big Diablo boss, the game has us backtracking through the whole rig whilst it's on fire as a timer ticks down because it's about to explode. And just at the end, we get a scene of Dante on a motorbike. Did he drive to the oil rig? I don't know. I don't think the devs know. What the fuck is this game? So now we're in this weird tomb area, or at least the outskirts of it. And within this area, we spend a whopping like 5 minutes opening up the tomb door by smacking these blue orbs, which have a time limit on them. All the while, we have to deal with a bunch of respawning enemies. It's about as enjoyable as scraping your balls through shards of glass. Once it's all done, before we can enter the tomb, we're warped into a boss arena with another god-awful boss. The giant flying moth, Noctpaturon. It spends the whole time in the air shitting out maggots that attack you when you're on the ground. It's awful. I hate it. Oh, you also have to fight this fucker as Lucia too. She actually gets warped here during the cutscene with the main villain on the oil rig. I'm not even joking. Right after she beats it though, she's warped into the tomb that Dante was trying to enter. Okay. This is where we get the most unique levels for Lucia, and they're water levels.
I'm dying on the inside, dude.
I just can't anymore. And it's not even like the first Devil May Cry where the water levels last at most like 2 minutes. These entire levels take place within the water, and there's even a brand new unique boss fight, which is this giant fish called Tate. It's awful. I hate it. I hate this fucking fish. The water level doesn't end after that though. No, there's even more water sections. And to make matters worse, after that we have a repeat boss fight with the guy from the clock tower, except it's called Plutonian now for some reason. Oh, by the way, we have to fight this exact same boss as Dante because after the moth fight he enters the tomb, luckily with no water sections for him, which is better. It's still pretty shit though. In fact, he has to fight the kingdoms of Amalurfella with his 2 dogs because he's in the tomb, I guess. We get a name for him though, and it's just as stupid as the other boss's names. The fucker is called Bolverk. Either way, we leave the tomb with some new knickknacks, and as we're leaving, we're approached by the old lady. Somehow she found her way here. She gives him another knickknack and asks him to save Lucia because she's gone to see Arius, the main bad guy, at his big tower back in the stupid city. Before Dante decides to go, he flips his stupid coin again to determine whether or not he'll help her. Obviously this doesn't matter because he's gonna go anyway. Luckily the game wastes no time and we're thrown straight into Arius's office in his tower, and we get another pretty ass nothing boss fight. Like, the guy doesn't even fight back. Oh, and also with all the knickknacks together, everything gets all weird and demonic and Dante jumps out of the window with Lucia. Now we're back in the town from the beginning of the game, but it's all warped and weird from the demonic presence, which is honestly quite cool to see. I like how everything looks. It's just a shame that the mission is boring because it has us exploring a little open area to find these blue orb switches. That's it. They're also in really awkward locations. There was one I just couldn't find for the life of me. So I spent a bunch of time just running around wasting time. It doesn't help that the boring enemies respawn. You also get another sword here, but who actually gives a shit at this point? Once all the switches have been activated, we head towards this weird demonic flesh pit in the ground, and it summons Phantom from the first game. I think they just ran out of assets to use at this point. To be honest, it's actually probably the most enjoyable fight in the game because his mechanics remain the same as they were in DMC 1, with him even blocking ranged attacks, provoking you to get up close with melee to fight him. It's way easier than he is in the first game, but it's still good. I miss you, Phantom. You make me wish I was playing the first game instead of this. Once Phantom is defeated, the flesh pit opens up and we have a timed mission where we have to kill all the enemies within that time frame. Why is this? I don't know. I don't think the game knows either, but we have to do it, I guess. And once we do, we can jump on into the flesh pit. And that flesh pit takes us right back into Arius's tower. Except this time we're on the bottom floor and we have to make our way up it, exploring samey looking corridors and taking lifts. And the lifts are kind of awful because if you kill the enemies too quickly, you have to stand there and wait. Like, it doesn't have like some programming that lets the game know when you killed all the enemies, so it just loads in the floors like as soon as you do it, so you're not waiting around. If you're too good at the game, you have to stand there and wait. You're punished for it. I mean, to be fair, this isn't a bad mission. It's okay. I like how we put these hearts into the doors to make the building more warped and demonic. I don't know why we do this, but it looks cool visually. We also get another fight with Bolverk, and then right after that, we get one of the worst fights in the game. I can't tell if this or the infested chopper is worse. It's 3 elemental heads that you have to shoot, and it's called Trismagia. I don't even know what else to say. It's just miserable. After this, we get a final fight with Arius at the top. Again, just like before, he does fucking nothing, whilst his minions put on most of the pressure. It's a stupid, shitty fight. He's a shitty character, but at least we get this cool line to finish it off.
King? Yeah. Here's your crown.
The Dante I know and love is still in there somewhere. Yeah, after that a big portal opens up between the building and we get to fight the final boss. The final boss being a big mismatch of bosses we fought earlier, as well as Devil May Cry 1 bosses. This is the big bad, and he's called Argosax the Chaos, which is actually easy to say, thankfully. It's supposed to be like the second most powerful demon below Mundus or some shit, and after destroying it, we do get a second phase of the fight, and it just looks like a red fiery version of the final boss from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. It's a pretty decent fight though, like it's surprisingly good. It's just a shame the rest of the game is dog shit. Whilst Dante is in the demon world fighting Argosax, Lucia gets ambushed by a possessed demonic form of Arius. It's an incredibly easy fight. I don't have much to say about it. He does have a second form which has a really cool design, but again, it's an easy fight. Then after all this, the game ends. Thank fucking God we did it, fellas. I don't have to play this game again.
You got it! Yeah! Yeah! Woo!
So there we have it. Devil May Cry 2 is done and out of the way. It's really a shame the game turned out the way it did. It could have been a way better game if Itsuno was directing it from the beginning. Or hell, if they kept Hideki Kamiya on to make the sequel to the game he created. We don't live in a world where that happened though. One thing I can give Devil May Cry 2 credit for is the fact we wouldn't have Devil May Cry 3 without it. I genuinely cannot wait to cover that one. If you want to be notified for when I inevitably talk about it on here, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I hope you all enjoyed my miserable experience going through DMC2. Luckily it's just uphill from here. Yes, that does include the reboot by the way. I do actually like that game despite my gripes with the story and characters. And a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters who... great people, very kind that you're willing to support me like this. But yeah, huge thank you to Nintendo Pro, Profit, Ryan IDC, Pitstab, Bouncer Storm Productions, and Daniel Levchenko. I also want to give a shout out to my second channel, Peroxidus Plus. I've really started getting that going. Like, we're almost at 10,000 subscribers on that channel, and yeah, it's nice having that. It helps me fund my main channel, which allows me to make bigger projects like these Devil May Cry videos. So yeah, thank you all so much for the support, and I will see you all in the next video.